I'm Parkside Mike Renaud from Hidden Pony Records and Management in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I manage bands and I put out records. My band, The Dirty Nail, was in the studio recording with their US producer, John Goodmanson, and we had to fly him home when the borders closed. And we weren't sure if we were going to be able to finish the record, but through some resiliency by Luke Bentham, the lead singer, he finished the guitars in 2 days before the province shut the studio down. And then after after we were able to get back into a studio safely, Luke completed the vocals. We flew them out to Seattle to John. He mixed the record and we finished it at the beginning of COVID, which felt like quite an accomplishment. And then we decided not to stop and we decided to put it out. So we had to come up with a lot of innovative ways to connect with our fan base. And at the same time, I was working with a software called Stage 10, which was allowing me to produce live streams for my artists from my home and do it like television and bring in multiple cameras and do overlays and bells and whistles. So for our country artist Ryan Langdon, we had a very successful May 2-4, which is a Canadian staple of partying in the start of the summer. We did a beer chugging contest where we had people in different locations and bells and tales of the tape, and it was super fun. And then we also helped our rockers Kadima get off the ground in a similar way, doing a lot of live streams and just pushing through COVID. We had Moscow Apartment, which we launched, which is 2 young women from Toronto who are incredible, really socially conscious, and they are doing a lot in terms of environmental work and social justice issues and educating and equality for women and all sorts of people. They're amazing indie rock, and we were able to get a lot of momentum for them going. So yeah, COVID was very ominous, but we just put some blinders on and we decided we were just going to make the best of it and go for it and not wait, because we didn't know how long it would be. We still don't. Some of the creative and innovative ideas we came up with, certainly revolved around the Dirty Nail campaign. We were able to shoot a music video pretty early during COVID because I knew that Soundbox Productions here in Hamilton, St. Catharines, out that way, had a bunch of gear set up in some warehouses that they were getting ready pre-COVID to take out on the road and some stadium tours. So we were able to get in there and shoot a socially distant video for Done with Drugs. And I think at the time that felt like an accomplishment and also seemed big because no one else was able to do stuff like that. We then turned that into a SiriusXM performance live at the Phoenix. I had started to call the Phoenix and Sirius because I knew they had broadcast lines hardwired in there, and I was going to want to maybe rent them or use them myself, just knowing that live streaming a loud rock and roll band from your living room doesn't really work that well. And that turned into SiriusXM getting behind it, and we did I think the first band live to air on SiriusXM, at least in Canada, from the Phoenix. And we were able to convince the health unit and the police and the provincial government. We came up with a safety plan that we had to present, and this was before they had come up with their own for opening studios and venues for live streaming, their own protocols. We had actually come up with our own and presented them and had them approved. So that was really successful. Along the way, we went to radio, and our radio team was hoping that maybe some bigger artists might take notice of the band. So I came up with the idea to solicit about 20 cameos last summer and have people review the video for Doom Boy from the Fuck Art album by the Dirty Nail, and that worked out really well. We got a lot of really great Mark McGrath and David Hasselhoff and Cisco, and Rick Nielsen said that the band plays Surrender better than him, and Cheap Trick, so we got a lot of mileage out of that. And then we did a green screen tour where we put the band in venues in North America, and we partnered with radio stations, and we had tour t-shirts and tour posters and sold them as individual shows or packages, and that was very successful for the band as well and the radio stations. Everyone was very happy, so we're going to do a second leg of that coming up called the Guaranteed Destruction Tour, where we'll also be playing live from Mars. So those are some of the creative ideas that we were able to execute over the past year and a half. So some of the things I'm excited about right now for the future are definitely the 3D space, VR space, the blockchain space, and more than just the NFT stuff, but some of the technologies coming out of the blockchain are pretty exciting, and I think going to help artists level the field a little bit in terms of how to get noticed, grow a fan base, talk to the fan base. I think it's really, really hard right now to enter the music space. You know, COVID aside, it's really hard. You have 40, 50, 60,000 songs going in a day being ingested. So those are, 40,000 people who are going for the same prize that you're going for added every day. So exponentially, it's getting harder and harder to, make any kind of headway in those ecosystems. And so I'm excited that hopefully there's going to be some ways to communicate with fans and make it cheaper to do things like make apps and make it, accounting easier. There's a lot of things that might get easier as these things develop, and I'm excited to see how that is, and I'm excited to try and be at the forefront of it. We're working on a charitable initiative called the Token of Gratitude, where we're working with the musical blockchain artificial intelligence, which is creating some musical tracks out of its feelings of empty famous venues from around the world. So we fed it the Berlin Opera House, Sydney, Red Rocks, I think Radio City, and it's basically spitting out pieces, tracks of music that we are going to give to 3 independent pods of creatives independently, one after another. The AI tracks will go into pod 1, then pod 2, then pod 3, and we're going to see what we come up with at the end. And that will be minted into what's called the Token of Gratitude, added some digital art, and excuse me, we'll also be doing lathe cuts of all of the different levels from the AI to pod 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to where we're going to get it remixed by DJ Insider Chris Vanderhayden out of Belgium, and that will be offered strictly for charities.